Hi everybody, so today's lesson is going to be a little bit different than what we usually do. Instead of assigning you with a new lesson, I am going to go over all of the stuff that everybody missed the most often on set 20, and then we're going to go back a lesson and you're going to do set 19 as homework. I've also decided to drop the grades from set 18 and 20, so those are going to go away. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back over and reteach some of the concepts that you guys were missing from 18 and 20, and then we'll try again with lesson 19. All right, so the first one that a whole lot of people missed was number 4. And number 4 wants us to convert 50 meters to inches. So we have 50 meters and we want to convert that to inches. So the first thing we do is we put 50 m over 1. Now it tells us we're going to use 2 unit multipliers, so we know we're going to have meters down here. And meters to inches, we're going to have to go from meters to centimeters, and then from centimeters to inches. So our converter is 100 centimeters is 1 meter, and then from centimeters to inches we have 2.54 centimeters equals 1 inch. Okay, that's our conversion right there. Now our 2.54 centimeters has to go on the bottom. Why? Because we need centimeters and centimeters to cancel. And then our 1 inch has to go on the top. Okay, now we're going to cancel our units. Meters, meters, centimeters, centimeters. Then we just multiply across. So on the top we have 50 times 100. So we'd have 50 times 100. And we have inches left. And on the bottom we have 2.54. Okay, and that's where the answer needs to look. And a lot of you put it all on the top. So you had 50 and you had 100 and you had 2.54. That's wrong. This means that we're going to multiply 50 times 100 and then we're going to divide by 2.54. So the stuff that's on the bottom has to stay on the bottom. The stuff that's on the top stays on the top. Now if we had done this and there ended up being a 1 on the bottom, you don't have to write it as a fraction. Let's say that it was just 50 meters to centimeters. When we canceled right here, we would just say 50 times 100. We would have centimeters left, and on the bottom we would just have 1. So that way we can write it, when it comes out like that, we can write it not as a fraction, because over 1 just means that's the same thing as being regular, not over a fraction. All right, so that is the answer to number 4. So when you come to these kinds of problems, if there's something left on the bottom, you have to leave it on the bottom of the fraction. Okay, another one that several of you missed was number 6. And number 6 says the perimeter of a rectangle is 110 inches. The width is 14 inches, and they want us to find the length. Okay, so that's what we're looking for, the length. If we draw this, we can draw a rectangle. And we know that it says the width is 14. Perimeter means all the sides added together. It's a fence. We can't let our cows out. So that means we're going to have 14 and 14 and then some other number divided into 2. So if we said 14 and 14, that would be 28. And we subtract that from our total, which is 110. Let's see what we would get. 10 minus 8 is 2. 10 minus 2 is 8. We get 82. Now, this isn't 82 because that number 82 has to represent the top and the bottom here. So we're going to take our 82 and divide that by 2. And we're going to get 41. So that is going to be the length. Length equals 41. So if you're not sure about what a question is asking for, just draw a diagram, and then you can see what it is that they need you to give them. All right. The next one some people missed was number 10. Okay. And number 10 says, I'm actually going to do this in a different color. negative 2 to the third plus, parentheses, negative 2 to the third. Okay, so what we have to do is figure out what each one of these parts means. So right here, this first one, we have negative 2 to the third. Okay, so that means negative 2 times 2. Let's see. Hang on, let me write that properly. If we look at this one and we see negative 2 to the third, we can cover that up. There's no parentheses blocking us. When we cover up that negative, then we're going to have 2 times 2 times 2. Because remember, this is the base. That is the exponent. The exponent tells us how many times to multiply the base. So to the third means I'm going to multiply 1, 2, 3 times. Then we can put the negative on. Okay, cover, then put your negative on. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. So our answer is negative 8 on that one. Okay, so this first part right here is going to be negative 8. Okay, this next one says negative 2 to the third. That means that this whole part has to be included. I cannot cover that up. So that means that I'm going to have to multiply it. The base is negative 2, and I'm multiplying it 3 times. The exponent's 3. That's how many times we have to multiply the base. 2 and 3. Whoops, I wrote a 3. 3 times. Okay? 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. Now, is it going to be negative or positive? Well, these two cancel, and we have 1 left, so it's negative 8. Okay? Now we have to add these together. This is not multiplying anymore. Now we're just adding. Negative 8 and negative 8, I owe $8. I borrow 8 more. Now I owe 16. So the answer to that one is negative 16. So be careful. If it's in parentheses, you can't cover that negative up. You have to include that when you're working out your exponent. If the negative is not included in parentheses, then you work it out and then put the negative on. Okay. Next one that a lot of people missed was number 11. And this says negative 3 squared minus negative 2 to the third. Alright, so we're going to do this one piece at a time. So this first piece is negative 3 in parentheses squared. So negative 3 squared. Let's see what that means. We're just doing this piece. We're not even counting that negative there. Okay, I can't cover that up. So that means I'm going to have to say negative 3 times negative 3. Here's our base. Here's our exponent. Our base is negative 3. Our exponent's 2. That tells us how many times to multiply our base. These are going to cancel, and we're going to have 3 times 3 is 9. So that is going to be a positive 9. So inside this parentheses, we're going to need a 9. Okay? Well, everything right there, all that, is equal to 9. We did not use this negative. It has to come down. Alright, now we'll do the next part. We're going to do this negative 2 to the third. Negative 2 to the third. That means negative 2 is our base, and we're doing it to the third power. So negative 2, and then again, and one more time. Does everybody understand our base, our exponent? Our exponent tells us how many times to multiply our base. Alright, 2 of these are going to cancel, and we're going to have a negative answer. And 2 times 2 is 4, and 4 times 2 is 8. So that's negative 8. Alright, we used up all that. We did not use this negative right here, so we need to bring it down. Negative, and then our answer to that was negative 8. Now we've got a negative and a negative right next to each other, so those are going to cancel. And we're going to have negative 9 plus 8, and that is going to be equal to negative 1. That one was a little tricky because there were a lot of negatives next to each other. We can't just go ahead and cancel these until we do this exponent first. Alright. The next one is number 12. And it is the third root of negative 27. Okay, so roots, the little radical sign, means the opposite of exponents. This means we took a number and we multiplied it 3 times. Something to the third equals negative 27. So if we think about it, we could do 3 times 3 times 3. 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 3 is 27, but that gives us a positive 27. We need a negative 27. If we did negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3, two of these would cancel, and we come up with a negative 27. So negative 3 is our answer. So the answer to that one is negative 3. So when you see the radical sign, it's asking you for a root. If there's a 3 right here, that means it's the third root. Something to the third equals negative 27. Okay, the next one everybody missed was 14. I don't know if everybody missed it, but it's on my list. So, and it says x z squared y to the third. When x equals 2, z equals negative 3, and y equals negative 2. All right, on this one, I'm going to do one variable at a time. So first we're going to do x. X is 2, so I'm just going to put in parentheses, and I'm going to put 2. Okay, our next variable is z, but it's z squared. So z squared, that's going to mean z times z. Well, if z is negative 3, we're going to have negative 3 squared. Okay, that means this is our base, negative 3. We're going to have to multiply it 2 times. So we're going to say negative 3 times negative 3. 3 times 3 is 9. Negative and a negative makes a positive, so that one's going to be 9. So that's our answer for z right there. The next one is y to the third. Okay. Y to the third, y is equal to negative 2 to the third. This is our base. Our base is y. Y is negative 2, so that means we have to multiply negative 2 3 times. Okay, so 3 negatives are going to equal a negative answer, and we have 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. So that one is negative 8. Okay, now we have to multiply all these out because we've got multiplication here and here. 9 times 2 would be 18, and 18 times 8. Actually, I think the easiest way to do that would be 9 times 8 is 72, and then 72 times 2, 144. Now, is this going to be negative or positive? Well, we have one negative sign, nothing to cancel it, so it's going to be negative 144. All right, so be careful on those. Remember, if you're replacing a variable, you're going to keep that value inside parentheses. So if you have like x squared, it's going to have to be, and x is like negative 3, it's negative 3 squared with the negative 3 in parentheses because that is the value of x. Okay, next one is number 16. And this one says we got to simplify by adding like terms. So 5 minus x plus xy minus 3yx minus 2 plus 2x. Okay, on this one we have to find all of our terms that are like, and like terms means that it has the same variables. So the first ones I'm going to do are my xy's. I have one here, and I have one here. These both have the variable of x and y in them. Doesn't matter that they're in different order. So this really means 1 xy. If there's no number in front of it, it just means 1. So we have negative 3, positive 1. I owe $3. I pay back $1. I'm going to owe $2. So that's going to be negative 2xy. Yx, xy mean the same thing. Alright, next one I'm going to do is just the x's. So there I have 2x, and here I have minus x. Minus x really means minus 1x. So I have 2 minus 1. That's just going to be 1, and it's going to be a positive 1x. And I don't have to write the 1x, I can just write x. Okay, the last part that I have don't have variables. So they're just numbers. and that makes them like terms. So this is 5 minus 2, which would be a positive 3. So our answer is negative 2x plus 3. Or negative 2xy plus x plus 3. So you can only add them if all of the variables are the same. Okay, next one we're going to look at is number 18. Is about the distributive property. Now remember, to write the distributive property is A times B plus C equals, well, we distribute, we rainbow it, A times B would be AB, and then we rainbow here, A times C would be AC, okay? So the distributive property just means to rainbow it out, multiply it by each thing inside the parentheses. Alright, so this one has negative 3 times negative x minus 4. Alright, so what we're going to have to do is rainbow this. So I'm going to go right here first. I'm going to say negative 3 times negative x. Negative times negative is going to make a positive. 3 times x would make 3x. So the answer, that part is 3x. Now I'm going to rainbow right here. So I have to say negative 3 times negative 4. 3 times 4 is 12, and that'll be a positive 12. So the answer to that one is 3x plus 12. Alright, the next one is number 20. And it says 2x times a minus 3p plus 2. Okay, on this one I'm going to do the exact same thing, but I have three terms in here. Okay, so I'm going to have to multiply by each one of those by my 2x. So I'm going to take 2x and I'm going to multiply it times a first. And that would just be 2ax. I like to put my variables in alphabetical order. Okay, here I have numbers on both of these. So that means I'm going to do 2 times negative 3. 2 times 3 is 6, and that would be negative 6. And then my variables are p and x. I have to make sure I have one here and the one that's there. Last rainbow goes to this term all the way on the end, plus 2. So I'm going to say 2x times 2. I have both of these have numbers, so I have to multiply them. 2 times 2 is 4, and that'll be a positive 4. And then my variable is x. So that's the answer to number 20. It's 2ax minus 6px plus 4. Alright, we're going to try number 22. This is k times ak minus 4a plus k, and it's going to tell us that k equals negative 3 and a equals 2. Alright, I like to work these where I don't replace all the variables at the same time. I'm going to only replace the ones that I'm doing first. So first I'm going to do ak. So if I had a times k, because that's what that means, these are touching, these are multiplied times each other, okay, a times k. A is 2 times k, which is negative 3. So 2 times negative 3 would be negative 6. So AK right there is going to be negative 6. Alright, so I've used those. So this will be K times. Now here I've got negative 4A. Okay, that means negative 4 times the value of A. So negative 4 times A is 2. 4 times 2 is 8, and that would be negative 8. So I'm going to put that here. And I used all that. I didn't leave that out. I used it when I was multiplying. Okay. Then I'm going to put my parentheses back, plus K. Now right here, that means negative 6 minus 8. I already owe $6. I borrow 8 more. That means I owe 6 and 8 is 14. Negative 14. So all I did there was put those two together. Okay, so now I have this multiplication left to do, and then I have to add right there. All right, so k is negative 3. So I'm going to say k times negative 14. K is negative 3 times negative 14. That's what I'm multiplying. Negative 3 times negative 14, negative times a negative, that'll be a positive. And then 14 times 3, 3 times 4 is 12, 3 times 1 is 3, 4, 42. So that's a positive 42. All right, so k times negative 14 would be 42 plus k. That's what I have left. All right, and k is negative 3, so I have 42 minus 3, because it's negative 3. You could say 42 plus negative 3. It really means the same thing as 42 minus 3. And that is going to be 39. So that's the answer to that one. So you may find it helpful, instead of replacing all these variables at the same time and having to make brackets and stuff, just replace them one at a time, one or two at a time, and figure it out in little parts. That way you can see what's happening. All right. The next one is number 23. And 23 is a times x minus a plus the absolute value of x. All right, so I'm going to replace these little increments at a time. Right here, I know I'm going to be multiplying. I know that I need to do what's inside my parentheses first, and the absolute value just means that I'm going to take the negatives away. A equals negative 2, x equals negative 3. Okay, so right here I'm going to do this first, x minus a. If x is negative 3 minus a, which is negative 2. Now here I can see that I have a negative and a negative next to each other, so that makes a positive. Now I have negative 3 plus 2, which would equal negative 1. So that's everything inside of here is negative 1. So I'm going to rewrite the whole thing so I don't get confused. Alright, so I used everything inside of there, and it just makes negative 1. Now I'm going to have a times negative 1. So a times negative 1. A is negative 2, and I'm multiplying that times negative 1. 1 times 2 is 2. Negative times a negative makes a positive. So this whole part right here is just 2. Now we're going to add that to the absolute value of x. Well, x is negative 3. The absolute value of negative 3 would just be 3. So this says 2 plus 3. So that's going to equal 5. So the answer to that one is just 5. Okay, there's two more examples I'm going to work here. 24, 2, and then we have a bracket and a negative 3 times negative 2 minus 4 times 3 minus 2, and then our bracket. Now, don't let these brackets scare you. They're just big parentheses. We're going to be multiplying here and here and here. Things we have to do first inside the parentheses. So this and this. I'm going to copy down everything else. Okay, so here, negative 2 minus 4. I owe $2. I'll borrow 4 more. I'm going to have negative 6. Okay. 3 minus 2 is 1. That's easy. Alright, so this says negative 3 times negative 6 times 1. So I'm going to do everything that's inside my big bracket. So 6 times 3 is 18, and that times 1 is just going to be 18. And these are going to cancel each other, so we're going to have 2 times 18. And that equals 36. So you see how that one looked scary, but it really was very easy once you just broke it down into each part. Alright, the last one's 28, and it is one of those figures with part of it shaded. So we've got a big square with a smaller triangle inside of it, and it tells us this is 10, this is 8, and this is 8, and that is 5 right there, that up and down. Okay, so that's your base is 8, your height is 5. And the rest of this is all shaded. And it wants us to find the area of the shaded portion. So we're going to find the area of the whole thing and then subtract the triangle. So total area, overall area is going to be length times your width, which would be 8 times 10, which would be 80. So the area of this whole thing, including where that triangle is 80. Then we're going to subtract this triangle, okay? And that'll leave us with the shaded portion. To do a triangle, the area of a triangle is going to be your base times your height divided by 2. Our base is 8. Our height is 5. And we have to divide that by 2. 8 times 5 is 40. 40 divided by 2 is going to be 20. Okay, so our triangle is 20. Our whole figure is 80. We're going to do 80, and we're going to take away the 20. And we come up with 60. And that is kilometers squared. Okay, so what I want for you guys to do for your homework, we did lesson 18 and lesson 20, and I am getting rid of those. I'm dropping those grades because they were all terrible. So your homework is going to be lesson 19. If you have problems with any of them, come back and watch this video because it's the same kinds of problems. Message me. I can send you a little video of me working a problem that you need help with. Leave it blank and I can work it on the board on Wednesday. So we kind of had to go backwards, but we will get this. We'll just keep working on these same kind of problems until everybody understands it before we move on to something else. I don't want you guys to get confused, so I'm going to try to not move too fast. I felt like we were doing really good before that, so we'll just go back and we'll review these kinds of problems until everyone's comfortable with them, and then we'll start moving on. All right, bring homework to class on Wednesday. Thanks, bye.